Hello, salam, shalom, namaste, satsrikal, aloha, hola, ciao, and bonjour. It's really amazing to be with you, and I'm so happy that you have joined us today, and I know you will be really happy you joined us today as well, because I have a very special person, Shoshana, who's a success financial coach. And we're going to be having a fabulous conversation today. Welcome, Shoshana.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, it is really awesome to have you. And will you just jump right in and tell us more about who you are and what you do?
Oh, thank you. Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Shoshana Kolodny, and I'm a success financial coach. I really help my clients achieve the impossible, right? It's like things that we all dream of achieving, and how do we actually do it? So that's what I help my clients do it. And I have a unique background, which helps me help them be even more successful. I am a financial professional and I do have my financial license. So I have a great mind in business, understand finances, and really understand the meaning of financial freedom. And then I'm also a money mindset coach, which I help you overcome all those money blocks that we were taught as growing up, which our parents didn't mean to, but somehow are suddenly ingrained in us. And I help you understand that your value, and in order to really understand your value, to invest in yourself financially and emotionally.
Very cool. And I can see how, because of what you do, what you aim to help people with, self-confidence is like a huge thing that you teach and work with people on. Oh my gosh. I really appreciate that about you, because our self-confidence is such a core aspect of what we need if we're going to have any kind of success in our life. So tell me more, like, what is a big problem that you see your clients struggling with when it comes to this issue of building up your self-confidence?
Thank you. So I like to say self-confidence is our foundation of a real successful business, right? We all need a great, strong foundation in order to be able to grow our business. And where I really started and really felt the need to empower mompreneurs with the self-confidence is when I helped start a nonprofit helping families suffering from postpartum.
Mhm.
What we came to realize while doing it is that moms really carry the burden on their shoulders about raising the next generation. And many different issues really um, starts the path to postpartum. And if any of you are moms, I'm sure you all agree with me, right? And what was the major common denominator across the board that we found was really, it was all, the root cause was from stress. And as we know, the largest stress factor in our country is financials, money, not really understanding money, not really being able to grasp how money really works. And as we all know, we all worry about, will we outlive our retirement fund? Will we have enough money in retirement? And especially as moms, they were very worried about, how are they going to feed another child? How are they going to put another child through college, right? So that's when the stress kicked in, and there went their self-confidence that they got this and they can actually do what it is they desire. And really their desire was to raise a healthy child, right? So that's when I realized that self-confidence, the belief in yourself, is truly so important to be able to achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah. OMG. You brought up so many like Excellent points. And the relationship between the self-confidence and the stress factor. I would love to explore a little bit more deeply around that. Um, yeah, just tell me more.
So so when we are stressed, right? What is our reaction? Our reaction is that we're not good enough. Our reaction is that we don't have enough to actually achieve what we want. And that's, it's like that stress cycle ball, that like the hamster on that wheel, right? Just running around and around and around. And one thing leads to the next and leads to the next, right? And it's that self-doubt that kicks in, that not worthy enough, and it causes stress. And then when we have that stress, but we start to feel, are we enough? Will we ever be able to get out of there? And it's that whole negative cycle that we tend to go on. So and that really destroys the self-confidence.
Yeah, because you just don't have the time to process, like because of all the stress, you don't have the time and the energy to process what's happening with you and around you in the best ways. Like even if in general you have good skills in terms of, what you do, how you do it, but when you're in a stressful situation, that all of that begins to break down. So I can see the relationship and what you're talking about.
Yeah. And really, it all starts and ends with our belief in ourselves, with our value in ourselves, with our ability to see ourselves as successful humans. And if when we're in that stress cycle, our focus is too narrow to be able to see wider. And that's where the self-confidence goes out of the window. And that's where I bring it right back in to be able to start the success cycle, right? And that's what I teach people, is to get off that hamster wheel and get onto the success cycle wheel. And because it's the same thing. It's once you feel that you have self-confidence, you start that success cycle of believing in yourself, of actually being able to take action. When you take that action, you actually build your self-confidence, which actually you believe in yourself, and you go down that success cycle, which is the cycle to be able to achieve the impossible.
Oh, I love it. I love the idea of the success cycle. You just reminded me about a concept that I learned when I was studying with my happiness coach. And we talked about the upward spiral. It's like an actual real thing. There's actual research that's been done with like brain imaging and so forth. And it very clearly establishes that people can either go in like a downward spiral where, something bad happens, you're not able to cope with it for whatever reason, usually because, it's a stressful situation and you don't have the capacity in the moment to cope with it. But then unfortunately, if you don't get that break, you don't get that time, things just keep getting worse, worse, worse. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. Hope you're getting value out of it. For your information, this episode has been sponsored by the Happiness 101 program. Are you a change maker, coach, trainer, or healer? Are chains of fear holding you back from making the impact and income you desire? Using a unique combination of positive psychology and the spiritual wisdom of our most effective change makers, the Happiness 101 program helps you break through your limiting beliefs and manifest the abundance and success you desire with fun and ease. Interested? Book a free Happiness 101 exploration call with me, your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Just use my online calendar link in the show notes. Now, back to the show. So, if you don't get a break, And, unfortunately, you just get caught up in this downward spiral. It can get really, really tough to get out of it. But the good news is that you can also get caught up in that upward spiral where one good thing happens and it builds into this like positive upward momentum where more and more and more good things begin to happen for you. So when you were talking about the success cycle, I was reminded of the upward spiral I learned about.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it really is,
Right?
right? Is like we get people off the downward spiral and we get them up onto the upward spiral. And when you're on that upward spiral, it's amazing what you can actually achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what are some of the, I guess, things for people to be aware of if they're feeling like they have been caught in a downward spiral? What do they need to become aware of that they can then begin to create change around so that they can then begin to get more caught up in the success cycle?
A great question, right? So like I said, I believe self-confidence is a strong foundation. And a lot of us women don't feel very confident in out there in business, especially because everybody says it's a man's world, but we really know it's not a man's world. We can do exactly what the men can do, if not even better, right? But we have to believe that and feel that. So the first thing that we really have to do is create that self-confidence. And if you're not feeling confident at the present moment, don't worry, I have great tips for you and I will share with you how to build your confidence. So the first thing that you have to know is that when you try to do something new, the brain goes into fear factor, right? It freezes and it's like, help, I don't know what to do. You don't know how to do this. Stop this. You're going to fail, right? So we got to show the brain, we got to create evidence in our brain that we actually have the ability to do something new and different, right? And when we create that evidence, that's how we're creating confidence in ourselves by showing the brain we can do something different. So we create that evidence. What do we need to do to create that evidence? So I'm going to share with you the first step that you need to do, but you have to know that this first step, you have to take it a tiny little step. Don't jump into the deep end of the pool. Take it one pinky toe at a time to create that evidence. And what is that evidence? Is keeping a promise to yourself. Make one promise and keep it to yourself for 5 days in a row, right? So like I tell everybody, if your promise is to get fit, don't promise yourself that you're going to exercise a half hour every morning, 5 days in a row. It could happen, but realistically, that first week, it's not going to happen, right? But if you say that you're going to do some sort of movement for 5 minutes a day, 5 days in a row, that's how you're going to create evidence because that is something that you can keep. Again, getting up earlier in the morning, right? So don't say you're getting up a half hour earlier in the morning or an hour earlier in the morning. You can work yourself up to it. But for the first 5 days, get up 1 to 5 minutes earlier in the morning. And that's how you're going to create that evidence in your brain, right? That's keeping that promise to yourself. And that's the creating evidence, and that is creating confidence. Think of it. How are you going to feel by exercising 5 minutes a day for 5 days in a row? It's going to feel phenomenal. You're suddenly going to feel like you're on top of the world, that you can accomplish everything. Amazing. That was your first step to self-confidence.
I love it. I love it. And now you're reminding me of more amazing things that I've learned from my teachers. So one thing that it reminds me very, very strongly of was when I was learning with one of my coaches, Raymond Aaron, and he has this like really amazing system that he teaches for goal setting. And one of the key aspects of it was exactly what you were talking about, that, because you want to build trust in yourself, you want to build self-confidence in yourself. You want to, if you make a commitment to yourself, you want to keep it. And he was like, one of the biggest mistakes people make, like you said, was to jump off into the deep end or attempt to do that, and then they struggle. And so he actually recommends that you break down any goal you have into three different levels. You say, okay, at a minimum, I'm going to do this. So for example, if you're waking up in the morning earlier, be like, at a minimum, I'm going to wake up 1 to 5 minutes earlier in the morning. But maybe, then you also set a second goal where you say, but I will try and challenge myself and see if I can wake up 10 minutes earlier. And then I will also set an outrageous goal for myself and say, like, I will try and get up 30 minutes earlier. But at the minimum, I will get up 1 to 5 minutes earlier. And as long as you meet your minimum goal, you can mark yourself off and give yourself a pat on the back and be like, yay, I met my minimum goal. But oftentimes when you meet your minimum goal, you're so encouraged and inspired and happy and excited that you keep going, like, and next day you might actually wake up 15 minutes earlier, and that's like a bonus. And maybe you're so excited and empowered by that, the day after or the day after that, you wake up 30 minutes earlier. But that's again just like a bonus. It's not like, if you don't meet the outrageous goal or you don't meet the challenge goal, it's all right. You still met your minimum. So, like, and then over time, once the minimum becomes really easy to meet, you just up the game. Your challenge target can become your new minimum, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Right. And you're building that
Yeah.
confidence one step at a time. And that's how that confidence muscle grows. Right. And that's what we want to do is we want to grow that confidence. We want to build a new evidence pathway in our brain to show our brain, hey, we got this. We can do new things, even though they're scary, right? How can we do new things? Because we just did it and we kept the promise to ourselves for 5 days in a row. So now we could do new things. So that is like your first stepping stone to self-confidence is really that stepping stone. And do I have time for a second tip? So a
Yes,
second tip
please.
that I tell everyone and I tell my clients is we all have some things we love about ourselves and some things we don't love about ourselves, right? So let's concentrate a minute on the characteristics that we love about ourselves, right? Let's find those characteristics. Let's find what it is that we actually love about ourselves. How we're great listeners, how we're very productive, how we inspire others. Let's go. Let's make that list of things that you really, really love about yourself. Share with me, Samia, one thing that you really love about yourself.
Oh my gosh. I love lots of things about myself. And I think one of the things I love about myself most is how much I love to learn, because um like for me, it's so much fun to be learning something new, but I am also aware of like how it helps me to grow. And I just love knowing that I'm continuing to grow and become better and stronger. So I just love learning, and I love how much I love learning.
Amazing. Amazing. That's so beautiful. Thank you. Right. So now we got to celebrate what we love about ourselves. We got to celebrate it. We got to be proud of it. Right. How do you suddenly feel about celebrating what you love about yourself? Suddenly you're feeling, oh, I got this. I got this. Right. Right. I can do something new. I can do something scary. You are in the right mode, the right success cycle mode of doing things, right? So we want to go there and stay there, right? So we're going to create that list of 5 to 10 things that we really, really, really love about ourselves. And we're going to be very consciously celebrating them. And every time we do anything that we love about ourselves, you got to celebrate it. You got to acknowledge it. You got to be proud of it. And you got to say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm good at. And this is what's going to move me forward in my business. And that's how you continue your success cycle.
That is so cool, and I mean, my gosh, it's making me think a little bit about, do you distinguish between self-confidence and self-trust?
Do I distinguish? So the more they're related to each
Yeah,
other
of
tremendously,
course.
right? So the more self-confidence you have, the more self-trust you have. The
Mm-hmm.
more self-trust you have, the more you can build your self-confidence,
Yeah.
right? So if you're not going to keep promises to yourself, you're not going to have self-trust. And then when you don't have that self-trust, it's very hard for your brain to allow you to do something new, because it's going to say, hey guys, we're going to fall flat in the mud. Nobody likes to fall flat in the mud, face down, right? So yeah, they're very much related, and they're intertwined in the success cycle.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for talking about that for a bit. And okay, I have another question. So, when you were talking about being in stressful situations and how that can really impact our self-confidence, and we are talking about helping entrepreneurs or as entrepreneurs, one of the things or context within which I know I can get very stressed, and I think a lot of us can get very stressed. Moms can get really stressed, is in the context of having to deal with other people who are maybe not listening to us or not cooperating with us. We need to get things done. And so how do you sort of deal with that stress? How do you manage that stress in a way that, allows you to stay grounded in your self-confidence?
It's a very, very good question. And that's question really proved to me that I did not have the right self-confidence I needed as a mom, and certainly not as an entrepreneur. I used to be very scared to ask people to do anything for me. I was scared of their reaction, of how they would say no, of how they wouldn't listen, of how I wouldn't be able to express myself properly. So I didn't. And guess what? Then the frustration built and the stress built. And when I finally said something, it never came out with confidence, and it always came out with frustration, right? And then I wasn't a good leader. I wasn't a good listener. I wasn't good at expressing myself, right? And it really did not serve me or my business or my family in the positive way, right? And it just continued in that stress cycle. So the first thing that you have to do is that when you're feeling that way, is you have to remove yourself from the situation. You have to take a deep breath, breathe in, breathe out, and say, okay, now I have to be able to express myself so that my team will be able to understand what I'm trying to tell them, right? And I'm going to go simple, right? I'm going to say, as a mom, we have to be able to express ourselves, to be able to ask our child to make their bed, so they actually go ahead and make their bed, right?
Yeah.
And if, right, like that is, I think, the easiest example to use
Yes.
is to be able to say to your child, go ahead and make your bed. Now, if you are going to go with that expectation that your child is going to mouth you back and say, no, mom, I don't want to. Why do I have to? This is not what I should be doing. And all the rest of it. How how are you walking into that situation? You're walking into that situation very, very stressful. And when you're finally going to say, hey, kiddo, can you please make your bed? You're not going to say it that way. You're going to say, kiddo, go do your bed already. Like, go, 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 right? And because you're expecting an argument back, so that's the way you're expressing yourself. But if you take a deep breath in and you breathe and you say, okay, I would like my kiddo to go make his bed. I am going to know that and I am expecting my child to say, of course, mom, and go make their bed. I am going to be able to say, hey, kiddo, can you please go make your bed? And my child will say, sure, mom, and go and do it, right? Do you see the difference of the
Yeah.
way I asked that question?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it also made me think about, all the research on how our expectations actually have a causal impact on how other people respond and react to us. And especially when we're thinking in the context of children, or when we're thinking about, in the context of working as a team leader and how we treat our team members, it totally impacts their energy and how they will respond to us. And oftentimes, when we go in with the expectation of really not just being self-confident, but also being confident in the ability and the capacity of our team members or our children, and really respecting them and their abilities and trusting them to do the right thing. And it really inspires them to sort of raise up to meet our expectations, and that produces way better results than screaming and shouting and so forth.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And then it also produces our ability to be able to do it again and
yeah,
again, right?
yeah,
It's like stay on that cycle
yeah,
of actually, the soft
yeah.
communication,
Mm.
the impactful communication.
Yes, and I think that's like one of those things that women are naturally usually much better at. And so that's something we can really, love about ourselves and be so happy that we have that talent and that skill and that learning. I just love it. Woohoo.
Yeah, yeah. And are you up for a third tip?
Sure, absolutely.
And my third and final tip is from one of my favorite authors, Kamal. I forgot his last name. You'll have to look it up for me. But he has a great book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It.
Mm,
And we got to love ourselves like our life depends on it. And that's what
indeed.
helps build our self-confidence.
Mm, mm. Yes. Oh, you just brought up one of my other very, very favorite topics to talk about, because when we think about loving ourselves, there is like such depth, it's not like there's just one way to love ourselves. There's like so many different ways that we can love ourselves. And because love is, wow, such a expansive and in fact infinite, both feeling but also action, and so how much we can love ourselves, how we can love ourselves, that's also, it's just infinite capacity, infinite possibilities. And it's just so, ah, I love loving myself. Tell
Yeah.
me more about how you love yourself.
Oh, I have many different reminders that I set to practice self-love on a daily basis, right? It's a practice of self-love. And I took most of my tips of self-love from Kamal, I forgot his last name. Um, but he has a great book and it's called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And he gives you, really breaks it down, what to do on a day-to-day basis, but starting with first thing in the morning, we all do the same thing. We all look in the mirror to brush our teeth. Now, either you could spend that time looking in the mirror to brush your teeth and saying, oh my God, there's a new wrinkle and a new gray hair and a new stretch mark, or you could look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love myself, and start your day just actually loving about yourself. Oh, I love my
Yeah,
brown hair. I
yeah,
love my eyes. I love my smile. I love that I'm so strong.
yeah. Oh, I love that. And I remember when I first started a similar kind of practice, it was it felt a little awkward and cheesy and just fake to be looking at yourself in the mirror and saying these things. But if it makes you feel better, makes you feel happier, why not? Give it a
Yeah,
try.
that's right. And over time, you're going to build that muscle of actually enjoying that time,
Mm,
really looking in the mirror and seeing all the wonderful qualities that we have.
yes. And this was like really important for me to do, because I'm a trauma survivor. I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse. And for a long time, I actually had um, like a really bad sense of disassociation with my own body, where I would not even want to look at myself in the mirror. And, like if I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, I didn't think like I was looking at myself. I didn't identify myself. If I saw pictures of myself, it was like I was looking at a stranger's picture. Like I did not identify myself with my body. I didn't want to identify myself with my body. It was just too traumatizing because in my mind, my body was the reason I was suffering and in trouble and vulnerable to more suffering and getting into more trouble. So I was like, I don't want to deal with my body at all. And so I did my best to ignore it. And so, when I started these kind of practices of trying to love myself, and especially in the context of recognizing my body, myself as my body, it was really tough. But look at me now. Yay. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I went through that process. And yeah,
And you get to
that's
appreciate
all.
everything about yourself, right?
Yeah,
And that's really
yeah,
what it boils down to, is
yeah,
that appreciation and that gratitude. And I'll tie it back to how
yeah,
it really helps us as entrepreneurs move forward in our business,
yes,
right? Because
yes,
when we start believing in ourselves and our own ability, that's the vibe we give off to others.
yes,
So then your clients, your customers, other people start seeing you and
yes,
believing in you and seeing a
yes,
successful entrepreneur, and they can suddenly put their trust and belief in
yeah,
you, right?
that's
And
right.
if you're going to come as a shadow of a doubt and not stand up straight and not believe in your product, not believe in your services, then nobody else can do it, right? So
That's
that's
right.
why self-confidence is the foundation to a successful business.
Yes, I so agree with you. And you know what you were just sharing? Oh my gosh, our lack of self-confidence, besides, the energy that we give off that other people can totally read, it actually has so many other real impacts as well. So for example, if I don't like or love or feel comfortable looking at myself in the mirror, now we're living in a world because of the pandemic where we're having to constantly stare at ourselves sometimes when we're on video, on Zoom, etc. And I, this was like a few months ago, there was a report coming out that one of the reasons a lot of people's mental health is suffering because of being so much on Zoom is because they're experiencing drops in self-esteem and self-confidence because they don't love looking at themselves on video. When they look at themselves, they're thinking about, oh my gosh, this aspect of me looks bad and I look fat here, or, like whatever it is about their body or appearance that they don't love and appreciate. And so then they don't even want to be present. There are women, another coach that I was working with recently, who actually is a brilliant, brilliant, wonderful coach. And she really is very passionate about helping women get comfortable being on video, because there's so many women who are not comfortable being on video, either because they don't like the way they look, or they're not confident about how they speak, or whatever it is. And video, I'm not saying that you have to do video or that you must do video in order to be successful in business, but it should be a choice that you're making from a healthy, happy place, that, I'm just not into video. I don't want to do video. I'll do something else. It shouldn't be something that you think you can't do and you're not doing because you're afraid to do or scared to do, or because it makes you feel bad about yourself. So that,
That's
yeah,
right. That's right. We should have that choice to say, this is the way I want to grow my business, or
yeah,
this is the way I choose not to grow my
yes,
business, right?
yeah,
So my program combines all of those into one, right? You don't need a separate
yeah.
video coach to have that. You don't need a separate mindset coach. I give you everything together in one package
Nice.
deal,
Ooh.
right? So
What's the
with
name? Yeah, what's the name of your program?
my program is called Millionaire, and I help you develop a CEO millionaire mindset, right? Because we're all the CEOs of our businesses. And listen, money is just energy, right? So the more money we have, not necessarily going to make us happier, but
Yeah,
the more life experiences we can actually experience with our loved ones, right?
yeah,
We can help our loved ones, we can support our loved ones, and we could give them more experiences in life when the money flows easier to us.
exactly. It's like one less thing you're stressed about, you know. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Indeed. Okay, awesome. Any last words or any last shares or tips on how people can best get in touch with you?
So you could follow me on Facebook at Shoshana Kolodny, or my Instagram is handle is shoshana.kolodny, or you can find me on my website, shoshanakolodny.com. Yeah, and I would love
Awesome.
to be in touch with you anyway. I hope
So,
you found this helpful
yeah.
and successful, and let me know the first step you're gonna do to build your self-confidence.
Indeed. Yes, please do that. Also, make sure you check the show notes, because we're going to drop all of Shoshana's links in the show notes. You can just click on it and connect with her real easy and not have to worry about, did you get the spelling right and things like that. Um, so yes, please check the show notes, connect with Shoshana. I'm also going to drop my links if you'd like to get in touch with me. And with that, I just want to say until we connect next time, I wish you lots and lots of peace and joy.